This is Business Law, Section 3, Chapter 7, Section 7.2. Before we get started on this section, I just want to review 7.1, some of the things that we learned yesterday. The sale of goods is governed by sales law under what? It's under the Uniform Commercial Code, or the UCC. The sale of these two items is governed by general contract law. That is the sale of services or real property. When a contract includes both goods and services, how do you know whether it's going to be governed under the UCC or general contract law? It is going to be dependent upon which is the dominant element of the contract. Title to goods is passed from the seller to the buyer when the seller does what is required under the contract to deliver the goods. So the risk of loss is borne by the responsible party for loss or damage of goods. Most contracts for the sale of goods of this amount or more must be in writing to be enforceable. That is $500. And there are several remedies both buyers and sellers may seek if the sales contract is breached. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue with 7.2 today. This one's going to talk about the consumer protection. So the first option is, or the first section says, consumer protection laws are going to apply to transactions between consumers and businesses. A consumer, that is someone who buys or leases goods, real estate, or services for personal, family, or household goods. When you buy a new car from the dealership, the consumer protection laws are there to help you. If you buy the car from another consumer, meaning another person who's just selling the car, you do not have the same protection, nor do the consumer protection laws protect you if you buy a product to use in your business. So if I just see a sign in a car that says for sale and I go up to Mr. Joe and I buy his car, I'm not going to be protected by the consumer protection laws. Also, if I own a business and I'm buying the car to use in my business, not necessarily for personal use, but as a business delivery car, then that is not going to be the same protection laws. The Federal Trade Commission, or this time the FTC, is the agency that's going to promote the free and fair trade competition. And they are going to help to protect the consumer and safeguard them against unfair and deceptive practices, and that is considered the Bureau of Consumer Protection. So the Federal Trade Commission is the government agency, and the Bureau of Consumer Protection is going to help safeguard the consumer. So let's talk about the Federal Consumer Protection Law. This is going to deal with interstate commerce. Again, interstate, just like interstate highways, goes between states. So this is a business that has passed over state lines. The Federal Consumer Product Safety Act is going to protect you from unreasonable risk of injury while using consumer products that were sold in interstate commerce. So if the manufacturers and sellers who place the item on the market, they must test the quality and the reliability or the fitness of the product before they ship it. They must also prove that the product has been tested and it is safe. The Consumer Leasing Act requires that lease agreements hold certain items in the lease, including the required number of lease payments and the dollar amount. It must also include any penalties for not paying on time, and if there's going to be a lump sum payment due at the end of the lease. A lot of times you might find that if you lease a car. So state and local laws, this is governed by the State Department of Consumer Affairs, and they're going to deal with laws that are just inside your state, and every state has their own Department of Consumer Affairs. And even though most of them are very similar, they could have differences. Next is the unfair and deceptive practices. So this is an act that misleads consumers. Most states have enacted their own Uniform Deceptive Trade Practices Act, or they have a similar law. This is going to help protect you from fraudulent misrepresentation, for one thing, and that is when there is a statement that deceives the buyer, or if the seller fails to disclose a fact about something. For example, it's going to be unlawful for a used car dealership to fail to inform the consumer that the car was damaged in a flood. We talked about that before whenever we was talking about contract law, about how that was fraud. However, if you were just buying it from an individual, you did not have the FTC or the Bureau of Consumer Protection helping you. You just had to take it to court and hope the judge was on your side because you could convince them that fraud happened. However, whenever you're buying it from a car dealership, then you are going to be protected more. And finally, you may have heard of something called bait and switch advertising. In the back page. Bait and switch advertising is when a store advertises bargains that do not really exist and the hopes of luring customers in and that they will buy something more expensive. This is an illegal practice because the advertiser is really just trying to sell you something different than the one advertised. So how does that differ from Black Friday ads? In a Black Friday ad, you have a computer, get here fast, this is a really good deal, you're going to get this laptop for just $300. Well, by the time a normal, reasonable person would get to the store, those laptops are long gone, and you have to buy one that now is $700. But they did put in the bottom of their ad, a lot of times now they will put, 3 laptops per store, so that you know that you have to be the first one there, and they're going to sell that one to you. Another thing they do is they may have the junky item for sale, but they don't really expect you to buy the junky item. They advertise it very, very cheap. You come in, salesman's like, you know what, you don't want that one. You want to get this one instead. It's a much better deal. It is, $500 more, but you're going to like it a lot better. So they don't even try to sell you that one. Now, a salesperson, after talking to you, can suggest that you buy the more expensive one if that one's better going to meet your needs. However, this bait and switch is whenever they don't even care what your needs are, but they know that they don't want to sell you the cheap one, they want to sell you the more expensive one. The FTC trade regulation rules, there are several of these, and this is dealing with interstate commerce to correct the wrongdoing in the marketplace. So if you had some interstate commerce and you were done wrong, how can you fix that? The first one is the negative option rule. This you may have heard of if you subscribe to like a magazine or a book club. They used to have CD clubs. And basically what happens is you agree to the plan and they're going to send you products every month, and the negative option rule applies. Meaning you do not have to tell them, yes, send me products this month. They're going to send you the selection unless you tell them not to do it. So the negative option rule means that if you don't want the item that month, you have to call and tell them that you don't want it before they send it to you. Under this rule, the sellers must legally tell you how many selections you have to buy, if any, and how to notify the seller when you don't want any more of them, and how you could get credit for the return of a selection that they sent you. They must also tell you how to cancel your membership. Whenever I was in high school, there was a thing, you would find them in magazines all the time, get 25 tapes for a penny. Great deal. Of course, some of the tapes that you could select from for your free 25 were not that great. But for a penny, you got a bunch of free tapes. Then every month, they would send you a brand new tape of their choice. Sometimes they would have, this month you can choose from these 3 items. Or it's just, this is what's coming this month. Unless you call them or notify them or send back their postcard or however they've told you to do it, that you don't want this month's selection and this month's tape, then they're going to send that to you and expect for you to pay for it. You also was required whenever you got the 25 free tapes was that you were to, in the next 12 months, you had to take so many of their selections. So that doesn't mean that you just got your 25 free ones and then you canceled your membership. You actually had to purchase so many at regular price. Next is the cooling off rule. And this is one in my business that applies to me a lot. The cooling off rule gives you 3 days to cancel a transaction made away from a regular place of business, such as a hotel, a restaurant, a home, or a fair. So if you were to invite me into your home and I do my spa party for you and you decide you want to order $500 worth of skincare and body lotions and makeup and all kinds of good stuff, that's great. I take your money, I give you a receipt. On the back of my receipt, it actually has the cooling off rule listed out so that you can read it. It is a contract. And what that says is that in the next 3 days, you have the right to think about what you bought and to cancel your purchase. Now, if you cancel the purchase, you are going to get back your money. But if I went ahead and delivered any products to you, you do have to return those to me completely unopened and brand new. So this is not, it does apply to purchases of $25 or more. And basically that's because whenever you're at someone's house or you're at a restaurant and you buy something unexpected, a lot of times there you might hear a sales pitch at a restaurant. Insurance companies do that. Maybe you're at a hotel somewhere. Maybe you went to the state fair and you walked through the vendor tent and you decided to buy a bunch of stuff and then you got home and you're like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that? Well, it was an impulse buy and you actually have 3 days to cancel that transaction. This rule, however, does not apply to contracts for real estate, insurance, securities, or emergency home repairs. The reason why, those things typically are done at those places. You typically do not buy real estate somewhere other than in a home. You don't buy an emergency home repair somewhere else. Next is the telemarketing sales rule. Now, there's been a lot of changes to telemarketing lately. Telemarketers, I think, do get a bad rap. You know, those people are just doing their job. At least they're out there. They've got a job. They're getting a paycheck so that they can put food on their table. They're reading a script. There is really no need to get angry at them, no matter how irritating it is when they call you. Just remember, they're just doing their job. So there's some things that has to happen whenever a telemarketer calls you. First of all, they have to identify themselves. They have to tell you their name personally and the company that they are calling for. If you tell them not to call back, they cannot call you anymore. This is called the Do Not Call Registry, and it's going to help to reduce the number of unwanted calls you receive. And under the telemarketing sales rule, it is illegal for the telemarketers to call you if you've asked not to be called. This now also applies to you can register your cell phone if you don't want them calling you on your cell phone. Also, they cannot call you before 8 a.m. or after 9 p.m. And they cannot be rude at any point, no matter how rude you are to them. They must tell you the total cost of all the products or services being offered and if there are any restrictions that apply. It's also illegal for them to make false statements about their goods or services. Now, a lot of times they're going through their scripts so fast that you really may not even fully understand what it is exactly that you're buying or getting yourself into. Sometimes you do that. You see a product on TV, you're like, oh, I want this shampoo, so I'm going to call. It's a really good deal. They're going to send it to me. Well, do you want to go ahead and get this other free trial of this? Well, sure, I'll go ahead and get that. Well, and then you've ended up adding onto your order and onto your order and onto your order, and you're paying 4 times as much as you normally would have. Okay, something that's increased a lot lately is shopping by mail, phone, fax, or internet. Okay, maybe shopping by mail, phone, and fax is not growing so much. However, shopping over the internet has seen huge increases. The FTC has established some rules to protect you when you're ordering items this way. First of all, sellers must ship the goods within the time they promised in their catalog or advertisement. If there is no time stated, if they don't say when they're going to ship it, it must be made timely. And if it's going to take 30 days, they must notify you, and you have the right to cancel that order and get your money back. Next, let's talk about warranties. So you've probably heard of a warranty. This is a guarantee usually by a seller to a buyer that the product will perform as promised. This law is going to give the consumers a great deal of protection, and it's an important benefit in most sales contracts. A lot of times whenever you go to buy a car, it has a warranty on it. Maybe you're buying a stereo system, it has a warranty on it. What that means is if within a certain time period the item quits working, you can take it back, get your money back, get a refund, get a new product. There's a couple different kinds of warranties. One is an express warranty. It can be either oral or written, and this one is for the quality of the product. And there are 3 different ways an express warranty can be made. First of all, it can be made by a statement of fact or promise. This is made when the seller makes a promise or a statement about a product. You do not have to use the words warranty or guarantee to make it a warranty or guarantee. A lot of times you're going to find an express warranty in a sales brochure, in a circular, or in an advertisement. To be useful, the warranty must be stated in precise and understandable terms, such as this product is guaranteed is not enough to give you protection. You need to know exactly what the seller is going to do for you if there is a problem that arises. Next is a description or sample of the goods. If it describes the item in the advertisement, then the seller warrants that the goods will be the same as the description or the sample. So you see an ad online for an item, they are guaranteeing you that whenever you order it, you're going to get the same item that was pictured online. Advertising expresses warranties. Sometimes an item has a warranty, and they're going to tell you, they have to tell you how to get a copy of the warranty before you buy the product. Advertisers who warrant products for a lifetime must also fully explain the terms of their promise. A lifetime, whose lifetime? My lifetime? Can I pass that lifetime on to someone else's? Is there a limit on the lifetime? So they have to let you know where you can view the full warranty before you buy the item. And if it's a lifetime warranty, they must fully explain what the lifetime is. Next is called the Magnum-Moss Warranty Act. And under this act, which is a written warranty on goods in interstate commerce that costs more than $10, they must disclose whether it is a full or limited warranty. A full warranty is an assurance that a defective product will be repaired or replaced without charge within a reasonable time. So if there's a problem, they will completely repair or replace it free of charge to you. A lot of times you're going to look for a full warranty if you're buying a computer. You take it home. If in the first week it has problems, you want them to fix that without you having to pay for them to do it. The next one is a limited warranty. And this is a written warranty that does not meet the requirements of a full warranty. So some limitations, some limited warranties will cover parts but won't cover labor. And others will cover a product, but only as long as it's owned by the original buyer. Once it's owned by someone else, the warranty no longer is in effect. So what about an implied warranty? Just by looking at the word, implied means that we're not fully coming out and saying it, we're implying it, or giving the impression of a warranty. So an implied warranty is the guarantee of a quality imposed by law. It comes automatically, so you do not have to verbally or have it in writing. It is an automatic warranty that everyone has, and there are 3 types of those. The first one is merchantability. And this is an implied warranty that the goods are fit for the ordinary purposes in which they are sold. Unless excluded, specifically excluded, this warranty is going to apply anytime a merchant sells goods. Retailers, wholesalers, manufacturers imply this warranty in every sale. Now, the goods must pass without objection in the trade under the contract description. They must be fit for ordinary purposes. Okay, so what's an ordinary purpose of an item? There's several examples listed here in the book. Let's say I'm selling a boat motor. Okay, and I'm returning it because it has produced excessive amounts of black smoke. So that product would not be merchantable. It does not sound like a legit thing. It should not be producing black smoke. What if I bought applesauce and I can't eat it because it has a poor taste or smell? Or what about food containing a piece of glass? If you want to find some interesting things, read what items can be considered to be found in food and still be considered merchantable. There's an article a case we're going to discuss whenever we get done with the chapter about what happens if you find a fish bone in your Boston clam chowder. But you would be surprised if you find what can be included in your food and still be considered acceptable. Okay, so fitness for a particular purpose. That's what it's talking about here. It's fit for ordinary purposes. Particular purpose, that means it is only being intended for its specific use. If I'm buying a vehicle to haul heavy equipment and the seller is trying to sell me a moped because I think I want a moped because it's cheap, but then I tell him I'm going to be pulling my boat with it. Okay, no matter what, I think I can make this work. I'll just rig it up and find a way. That's not what the moped is intended to do. And so if I use my moped to pull that boat and my moped then has problems, it would not be considered a warranty because I used it for a purpose in which it was not intended. You're going to find this whether the seller is a merchant or a private party. So have you ever bought something and used it for a purpose for which it was not intended? If you used it for a different purpose than the intended purpose, then if there was a problem with it, you could not have returned it to try to get your money back. But here's the catch. If the seller knew what you were going to do with it and did not tell you that that is not its intended purpose, and they went along with it, like, yeah, you could probably pull your boat with that moped, I don't see why not, then they could be held liable for it. However, if they did not know what you were going to do with it and did not say, yes, that would be a good idea, then the problem is all of yours. Going down. Warranty of title. In all sales, the seller warrants that the title being given to the buyer is good and that the transfer is lawful. This is called your warranty of title. Basically, it's going to guarantee that the goods have no liens or claims by others. That means that if I'm selling something that could have a lien on it, could be a car. Maybe I've taken it and I've had the motor rebuilt and I owe my mechanic lots of money and I haven't paid them. And so they go up into the courthouse and they file a lien, which means that if that car is ever sold, they need to be paid first. A lot of times you find this on houses. However, we're talking about goods. So you could have a lien on anything. If you buy stolen goods, the real owner has the right to the return of the goods. You can try to recover your loss from the seller, but if the seller goes to jail and has no money to pay you back your money that they took from you, you're going to be the one pretty much out of luck. So be careful not to be buying stolen goods. And if you know the goods were stolen, then you can be in trouble for actually receiving stolen goods. When is there an exclusion of a warranty? To exclude the warranty of merchantability, you must use the exact word merchantability. You cannot just go around it. It has to be that exact word that right here that has been used in the statement. If the exclusion is in writing, the word must be written prominently, meaning it's highlighted or it's made bold or it's bigger or italicized. And the warranty of title cannot be excluded. So no matter what, you cannot exclude the warranty of title. Here I'm going to sell you my stuff, but title's not any good. You can't do that. In some states, an implied warranty can also be excluded or modified by the words as is and with all faults. If you are buying something that is considered being sold as is or with all faults, a lot of times you hear this with a car being sold as is. I've seen things online like a game system or a laptop sold as is. A lot of times they will do this, especially if they're selling it for parts. It's as is, and you, the buyer, have the option to examine the goods or know exactly what's wrong with them before the sale. So what is the responsibility of you as the consumer? The warranties are designed to protect you. However, there are certain responsibilities you need to do too. First of all, you need to use the product safely and as it's intended to be used. It may surprise some of you guys who have done some things with a blow dryer. A blow dryer is intended to dry hair. It is not intended to be used as a heat gun. A heat gun and a blow dryer, not the same thing. However, I know people who have used the blow dryer in place of a heat gun. You need to read any information that comes with the product. Those little booklets are not there just because the seller had extra money and they decided to print a booklet in 10 different languages. That book is important. You should read every piece of it. And if you have a problem, you need to notify the seller within a reasonable time after you discover the defect. If you wait a year and go, oh, you know what, I think I'm going to call them and tell them whenever I bought that item, it didn't work. Well, you know what, you might be too late then. So you have a reasonable time period in which you need to notify the seller of any problems you're having. Consumer protection assistance. Many state and local governments are going to have offices of consumer affairs to educate the consumers and help protect them against fraud. The Federal Consumer Product Safety Commission is going to establish the safety standards for the consumer product. It has the power to recall unsafe products or to impose a fine on the violator. The local business community is also going to police itself and protect consumers from questionable practices. So there's all kinds of federal governments and different things you can do. If you feel you have been wronged, the first thing you should do is contact the business. You know, they may not have realized the part they sold you was defective. Just call them and say, hey, this didn't work, or hey, you shipped me the wrong item. Can we fix it? Most of the time the businesses want to fix it because they want you to be happy as the customer, because they want you to tell your friends that, hey, they took care of you. And they don't want you going around going, don't go to ABC store because they're going to sell you the wrong stuff. Okay? If you cannot get help through the business, the next thing you can do is to contact the Better Business Bureau or the BBB. This is a private agency. They're going to listen to consumer complaints at local and state levels. Their mission is to promote a highly ethical relationship between the business and the public through voluntary self-regulation, consumer and business education, and service excellence. So there's a lot of things that the Better Business Bureau is trying to do. However, they do not have the power to enforce any laws or to recommend one business over another. One thing you can do through the Better Business Bureau, though, is look and see what the rating of a business is. Businesses will have ratings based on reviews of their business. Okay, so there are questions on page 175. But before we do that, let's go ahead and just review this section. The Federal Trade Commission, or the FTC, was created to promote free and fair trade competition. The Bureau of Consumer Protection safeguards consumers against the unfair and deceptive practices, and the Consumer Product Safety Act is what protects consumers from unsafe goods. So there's three things there. The FTC is promoting free and fair trade. The Bureau is going to safeguard the consumer, and the Consumer Product Safety Act is going to protect the consumers from unsafe goods. An express warranty is one that could be oral or written about the quality, the ability, or performance of the product. An implied warranty is a guarantee that is imposed by law and comes automatically unless it is excluded. A full warranty promises to fix or replace the defective product at no charge within the reasonable time. And a limited warranty is going to cover only specific costs such as parts, but may not include the labor. And finally, consumer protection can be obtained from your state and local consumer protection agencies, such as the Consumer Product Safety Commission or the Better Business Bureau. But again, the Better Business Bureau cannot actually enforce any laws.